It's 5 o'clock. This time I will call the Perry City Council work session for July the 1st, 2019 to order. We have a quorum. Item 3 on our agenda this evening are items for review and discussion. So 3A is considering funding portion of the Four Paws grant application for sterilization program. I think that's going to be Mr. Davis Cozy that's going to be talking to us this evening about that.
Do you want me to talk
What-
from here or stand
Where
up?
you
or-
can sit there, you can stand up.
Well, I need to point, maybe.
Okay, well, go right ahead.
This
That'll
won't
be
take
fine.
long, and I appreciate it.
Wherever you're comfortable.
Being able to present to y'all. Just a few numbers to start with. We in 2018, we adopted, wonderful. It's always on, I just do this. Okay. These are our numbers from 2018, and 2019 is kind of tracking the same way, but we did 621 adoptions, 425 cats, and 196 dogs. It's unusual for a rescue to do that many cats versus dogs. And I want to kind of make my case about spay and neuter and telling you why it's that way. For the last in about the last 2.5 years, we've invested over $20,000 in spay and neuter in the community. And this has nothing to do with adoptions. All those animals are spay neutered, all of them are chipped, so this has to do with going out in the community for people who either cannot afford it or don't want to spend the money to do it, but would do it if you pay for it. So we've invested in all 3 of the veterinarian clinics. We've had money on account there for people who they said, there wasn't a lot of paperwork involved and a lot of stuff like that. It's just like, if you see a need, use this money. And they all used all of it. What is that? And that is translated into statistically with the growth we've got. And you look at the AVMA stats, our intake and our adoption should be going up as well. Almost, not exactly a 1-for-1, more than that, because there are more pets owned in households now than at any time since AVMA has been tracking it, percentage and statistically. So the more that are out there, the more that are going to impact the shelter eventually, either by getting lost or by people getting in a situation where they can't keep them anymore. And what we found in the adoption is people have for lack of a better word, adopted the attitude that you adopt an animal, if it doesn't work out, you bring it back. Well, we want them to bring it back to us, but we have the highest rate of owner returns since we've been 15 years. This is our 15th year. Anyway, that 20,000 investment has resulted in statistically about a 200 animal per year decrease, or whether you look at it as decrease or not an increase, statistically it's the same thing. It's impacting the shelter. And every animal that comes into a shelter, and I've talked to some people, and I know a lot of people in Georgia that are in the business I'm in, I guess, with faux pas. And it's about a $400 cost for an animal to come in. If you factor in volunteer hours and just pay them, just do some kind of factoring into it for the impact of an animal that's stray or given up or whatever, all the way to the point of them being in a new home. So that's about $80,000. That $200 a year is about $80,000 that it would cost to rehome them were they here. So we think that the impact of spay neuter is just right here in this microcosm of the bigger world in Perry has been proven. So, Johnny, you hit the next slide for me. We applied for a grant this year, and the way the agriculture grants or for spay neuter are judged is there's a whole lot of, and I've actually graded them before, so I had kind of an insider view on this thing. But the way that they look at it is it sustainable? Is it targeted? Did you get a good deal on the spay neuters? What's the best use of this grant money that's gonna happen? And not bragging, but we were the #1 grant in grading in the state. Out of over 100 rescues and municipalities that applied, ours was ranked #1. Well, what that did for us, the way they did the grant money was if you made an A on your paper or the top percentile, you got $5,000. If you made the second tier was 4,000, and the next tier was 3,000. And they spent a little south of $600,000 total in this, so a lot of grants given. And of course, this was the amount that we applied for. And we got our 5,000, plus they gave us 1,500 more as a bonus. So we got 6,500 total. And what we're gonna do with this money is, I don't wanna have to read all that, but basically, we looked at the 3 veterinary clinics and the way to target the applications for grants. You know, most large cities use zip codes. Well, our zip codes are all of us, so we had to break it down into smaller components. And probably people that run for office know all about these kind of things, but there's the post office, go to the next slide, Judge. Okay, has what's called every door direct delivery, or every door direct mail, which means the carrier routes are, you know, our city's broken up into probably, I think, 9 or 10 carrier routes. And so what we did is we went to the black dots, some weird use. Black dots are the 3 veterinary clinics. That's right. And the blue is the carrier routes that associate in the closest vicinity of those. And so what we're gonna do, since I only have 1/3 of the money that are needed, or a little more than 1/3 of the money we needed, we were gonna scale it down, but I didn't want to scale down the impact in each area. So what we're gonna do is just take Perry Animal Hospital and the carrier route that's associated with it and fund that, which that would pretty much use up 1/3 of what I need. But I really want to do all 3. I want to do the whole program. I want to go to Westmoreland and Smith and do the whole thing. And so, next slide. This is a closer view of the route. This is carrier route, I think it's called. Let's see which number that is. I think it's CO4. Doesn't really matter, but there are 4 carrier routes that are considered kind of tightly within our whole circle of our original, city limits. And then the others are numbers, and there's 6 of those that are kind of on the perimeter, but they're all in 31069. So this is the group that's gonna be mailed to the first go around. And I'll tell you how many that is. It's 544 households, And the other thing that's great about this Every Door direct mail is that you can select residential or business. So of course we selected residential. And so it's gonna go out, the flyer that you have, is gonna go out to those people, and it's gonna direct them to Perry Animal Hospital, which that's the purpose of this thing, is getting the people in the area to know that that's where to go. What we're gonna do, now all three of the vets are participating. They all gave us discounted rates, and if you wanna read the whole grant application, you know, certainly make it available. But they all discounted their cost. We're gonna, FOPOS, we are gonna, fund the, if they don't have, they're not up on their rabies vaccinations, that's a state requirement. You can't, a vet can't practice on an animal that's not up, it's rabies, they gotta give them that. A lot of times they won't be. A lot of times, some people have never even taken their animal to the vet at all. So we fund that, and we also give them the choice of microchipping their animal at no cost. And so everything other than the spay-neuter procedure and the pain meds, if they have to have them for that, has to be funded outside of the grant with the state's money. And it will be with, if you are willing to partner with us, I'll ensure that it will be with yours. In other words, your money, the money that will go into this, the $16,000 will be simply for the surgeries and any kind of pain relief that goes with that surgery. It won't include the rabies vaccination, which will be required. It won't include any kind of ancillary charges, because here's the thing, free ought to mean free. It shouldn't be like you go in, you have your animal spayed or neutered, and all of a sudden you get a bill for something. I want them to walk out with no cost, so we're gonna take care of all that. So the ask here is, we're about 10,000 short of being able to do the whole program, and we'll fund 5,000 of that. The city would fund 5,000, meet us halfway, partners with that, and then we'll take care of all the other charges for that. And the goal is, this shows you just the cost of that and the reach in this neighbor, you know, it's going $114 to put that thing in all of the residences in that area, that blue area right there. And we're hoping, so I got another slide, but okay, this is what we're gonna actually put in their hands, and y'all got a copy of it, but it basically tells them about what this grant program is, and then it has the different things that we're gonna try to capture about, of course, and then each veterinarians, in this case Cheryl at Perry Animal Hospital, will do the scheduling. And so, last slide, and I'll get out of here. This is the other thing we want to do. This is so important, the microchipping. Animals are property in Georgia, and I respect that in some way. But, you can't microchip an animal that's owned by somebody without them agreeing to do it. It should be that way. But we will microchip. We've got some really good vendors for microchips, and the vets have said that they will do it. They will put them in for nothing if we supply them. So we're going to also try to microchip the animals while they're there, so that if they get lost, we can easily return them. So that's the program, and we're very excited about it. I think it's going to be, there's no question about the value and how good of an investment spay-neuter is. I don't think there is. So, are there any questions that I can answer about it?
Council members, any questions of Mr. Cozy? Relative to
Appreciate all you do.
Well, thank you. We're kind of silent partners. We don't come to the partners thing, but y'all know where we are.
So I guess I'd have to ask the question of Mr. Gilmore, do we have funding to cover this $5,000 quest?
Such a worthwhile program, of course.
Thank you so much. We'll do the whole thing and we'll start at the Perry Animal Hospital, move from there to, Smith, and then, end up at Westmoreland and report back on what happens.
Well, let me, council members, do we have concurrence to move forward with funding this $5,000, matching Fort Falls' 5 and the state 65 to carry this program forward?
Yes.
You have concurrence, Mr. Gilmore, to fund that?
I am assuming this is concurrent, subject to FOPA's getting the grant.
Well, they've already gotten it, have
We got the state grant.
State grant's already.
We just didn't want to scale the whole program down to the 6,500, or even if we put in that, if we could get the whole program, our goal is to do what we wrote. Yes, sir. We've got that, and we can, just for your, we'll show you how your 5 was spent at the, clinic, each clinic, in the building. So we can reconcile it back to just it was used for, those surgeries.
Thank you, Mr. Cozy, for coming and sharing. Thank you for what all Fort Falls does for our town. We really appreciate it. Item 3B is the Office of City Manager. 3B1 is the consideration of an incentive program for the downtown district. Mr. Gilmore?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Council members, in your packet is a memo from me, and attached with it an outline of information that was provided to the Downtown Development District of the City of Perry, in which you may remember we had talked with you at a previous work session about an incentive program for restaurants downtown, providing up to 50% of their purchase and installation costs. We had some discussion with that. One of the concerns that you had was what about other areas of the city that may have asked for this, and some other items. So talked about this with the Development Authority. The Development Authority thought that this would be a very good idea for them to partner with the city for the downtown. So the administration's recommendation to you would be to proceed with this program, which would mean the preparation of an agreement that have to come back to you all for approval, as well as the authority. And assuming that they do, then that would provide the incentive program for restaurants in the downtown district.
Questions, council members?
This is Castle County, right?
No, our own, Perry's downtown.
This is Perry Downtown Development Authority.
Just for conversation, if I own a restaurant out on Sam Nunn, not gonna help me, right?
Correct.
Is that fair?
If I'm the restaurant locating on Sam Nunn, no. I guess I wouldn't consider it fair. The other side of that is, if, for example, a Wendy's or whatever, I'm going out there because that's where the market is. So I'm coming no matter what. However, one of the major things that the DDA and you all have talked about is getting different type of non-chain restaurants downtown. In order to get them downtown, we have to provide some type of incentive. You may remember it's similar to, you granted a one-time incentive for Project Tucson for a microbrewery type of deal.
I thought we discussed that. I think we
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That was an incentive that you granted for one particular type of activity, because you believe, which is well documented, that it's a very good economic generator for
We do
bringing
it for
other
motels
activities.
too, don't we?
Pardon?
We do it for motels too, don't we?
Not anymore.
Not anymore? We have done it.
You have done it.
Individual incentives.
And that was, you may remember, to encourage getting more of the multi-story closed-in motels. So we now have 2, and with the incentive, we'll have 3, and then possibly 4 out at the fairground, and maybe more as time goes
What's your pleasure?
I think we should do it.
You're okay, Mr. Hunt? Mr. Chapman? Okay, you have concurrence. Mr. Gilmore to
Thank you.
prepare the documents.
And like I said, that'll all be coming back to you for final approval.
It's always great when the electronic devices work. Item 3B3 is review the types of vendors allowed at Food Truck Friday. Ms. Turpin, I think you
Do
Oh,
we-
did I skip one? Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, I got it. That's why I like it. It's wonderful, yeah. Item 2 is consider city's role in tourism product development. Mr. Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Obviously not as important as Food Truck Fridays, but
No, I was reading from the chart. I'm sorry.
I think you all may remember that we partnered with the Perry Area Convention Visitors Bureau and brought in a tourism development group, and they gave a presentation out at the Art Center. Does everybody remember that?
Yes.
And in that presentation, they had a whole bunch of suggestions and so on and so forth to do. What I provided to you is what the administration's recommendation would be that the city does or takes a lead, if you will, on. And you may remember there are a whole bunch of them, but what we are I am recommending to you all is to institute and promote events downtown, which of course we're already doing. Unify the approach to downtown business development, which we're also working on and doing. Work on the visual downtown guide. You may remember we're doing that with the wayfinding signage. Examine options for unique lodging within the corporate limits of the city. You remember that was one of the points they had talked about. I didn't see any value for us to spend any of our money to push up some unique housing out at Flat Creek, and that's a state facility we don't control. And then historic preservation of the downtown for the period 1850 to 1950. Then also to create historic drama mediums. You may remember that was one of the things they had talked about. Coordinate with the Perry Area Historical Society, keep the museum open more hours and promote activities. Develop Sears Kit Home Tour. You may remember that was one of the big ones that they had talked about. Develop Heritage Park as a venue. Promote the arts in the parks, which you all have talked about doing. And then develop an arts trail program, which we, in conjunction with our trail program, should put some type of artistic items of some kind on that. If you concur with this, then one, we will advise the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Perry Area Chamber of Commerce, and any of the other partners about this is what the city's role is, and then we would take each of those and, as time and money allows, get back and let you know what the next step would be. So you have an idea of where we're talking about going and what it is that we're going to do. I do not like to be in a situation where we have these state groups come in and they do these study type of things, and the study just goes and sits on a shelf. We ought to do something where we do nothing. The other thing I think that's important is there's a number of other items that are very important there, but I think it's incumbent upon our partners to step up and take care of some of that type of stuff.
Questions? Council members? Concerns? No, we have concurrence with the recommendation from staff to move forward with the tourism product?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt, you're okay? All right, we have total concurrence. Thank you, Mr. Gilmore.
Thank you.
Now, we'll do item 3 under D, and that's the review types of vendors allowed at Food Truck Friday, and I think you have a couple other items you want to discuss with us as well.
Yes, please. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Tonight I'm coming before you just to discuss and get some clarification on the types of vendors that we would like to see at Food Truck Friday events. Since I started in March, I have had numerous different types of vendors reach out to me, and it's my impression that we may or may not want to welcome them to participate in Food Truck Fridays. Some examples of this are push cart type vendors, so people who have just the little push carts, maybe with an umbrella or something over it. Tents where they set up a tent and serve food or beverages from underneath that. And then also trailers that do not have kitchens in them, where they are serving food that has come from another vendor and then being sold through their trailer. Some of the concerns that I have on my end is just that this event is already in such high demand. We do often have to turn away vendors or create a wait list, and so to promote the integrity of the event and keep it a food truck Friday, I just wanna make sure before making any executive decisions that council and I are on the same agreements of what is and what is not permissible for food truck Friday events.
I would agree with you, as long as you got waiting list, and let's keep it.
Okay.
I'd like to keep it high end. I really think that you've got limited space, you know, you've got great demand for it, and so I think that, if you continue with your high end approach, I think that's what people really want. I know the lobster roll thing was, you know, it was expensive, but
Everyone's
boy,
very good about liquor.
but like, make sure they come back.
If they push it in here,
One of the things I have enjoyed so far about our events is that if they're not able to come to a Food Truck Friday event, for example, a push cart, that maybe we can invite them to come to a different event like the May Day Festival or Oktoberfest. But to preserve the integrity of Food Truck Friday and try to make the events different, I do agree that it would be best to stick with food trucks and food trailers. Another concern that I brought up this morning.
Any question for anybody?
she hit on it when she said the last statement, food trucks and trailers. So if I pull it in here with a truck, with a trailer, I'm good.
Yeah, that's
Right.
good. Kitchen
We-
self-contained.
Yeah, we do have several food trailer vendors, but again, most of those trailers, they're not what you're gonna see, you know, on the side of the road at a car lot. They've been designed, oftentimes they're, I don't know the fancy word for it, but they're wrapped in some form. And if they're still cooking or making their food on site versus bringing in, I guess my thing would be open up a floodgate if, another organization wanted to bring food that was being created off-site and then selling it through, just what's the appropriate way to approach that? Just because we do have such a high, I mean, every single week we're getting calls from new trucks, and as much as it does hurt to say no, we do have to say no to some trucks. And, we've already promised certain trucks for this year, but looking forward at next year, trying to be more selective of the redundancy of having 8 barbecue trucks versus making sure that we have a good variety. So being a little bit more picky about who's coming and when, and trying to give alternating chances to trucks, because it definitely is growing in demand still, not only in event participation, but also in vendors who want to participate. So,
You know, one thing I think, and you should have a positive step, because sometimes people feel that you're not being fair.
Yes.
But if you got something set up already in place, and they might want to see it, you know, so that's just how
Yes.
we running it, and just what we're gonna do.
Thank you.
That's what it is.
That's exactly why I wanted to come tonight,
Right.
because I was reviewing our application for the mobile food vendor, and I read through it thoroughly. Now, I will admit, maybe I missed something, but I don't see anything on here that specifies what is required to be at the Food Truck Friday event, where it does say that you cannot be a push cart, or that only beverage vendors can set up a tent versus a food vendor setting up a tent. And just for my sake, it would be easier to be able to say, listen, these are our Food Truck Friday rules. If you don't pertain to that, then we welcome you to participate at this other event, for example, Buzzard Drop or May Day Festival, or any of the other ones that we do, because we do have a number of successful community
Like
events,
Dog
not just
Festival,
Food Truck
right.
Friday. But I do agree it would be easier to be able to clarify on some type of written document
Well,
what
you
is
get-
and what is not.
Once you get that, just kind of give us a copy so we'll know
Okay.
what's going on, because people will call us and ask us, you know what I mean? Try to squeeze something in for them, you know what I mean? Because
Okay.
who we are, but see
Sure.
that thing, once you get it up and prove our administration, we get a copy, we'll know how to handle that, you know what I mean? Thank you.
Thank you. One other topic of discussion, if I can take a couple more minutes of your time. We had our first Perry Presents lawn concert this last Friday, and it was really well attended for being out at Heritage Park, being its first time event. We had great feedback from just it being unique and different, something new for the community. But one concern that was brought to our attention was the concern that they invested time in setting up their place here. So this was a free lawn concert series where people were encouraged to bring their own coolers, bring chairs. Some people even brought pop-up tables, and We're gonna encourage people, if they want to next time, to bring tents to put around the perimeter, so people can kind of make it their little setup, so to speak. But once they've invested that time in setting up, if their neighbor next to them happens to break out a box of cigarettes or a cigar, and they've gone through that time to set up and make themselves comfortable, what type of policies could be put in place to enact non-smoking at an event like that. Now, I do know that maybe it wouldn't be of our best decision to jump right to a non-smoking at events, but perhaps putting in place a smoking section, so that those families or individuals who wish to be away from that area can choose to do so beforehand. But it is something that has been brought to my attention as a concern, specifically for this event, but I do foresee it maybe being an issue at other events as well, especially ones that are extremely family-oriented, because all of our events are obviously family-oriented. Some of them do lean a little bit more towards children and families.
You know, back to the point I said earlier, is that, since this going into place, I think for all the parts, we should have a policy, because we know that we got smokers, and then we got non-smokers, like you said. See, I can't stand smoke myself, and the thing is that we need to have something in place. If they're gonna come, then they got a place that they could go. It's not that we're trying to isolate them, and again, we are on the non-smokers, you know what I mean? So we want them to be.
It's not that we don't like them, but we're.
But, you know,
We just
I think y'all understand
secondhand smoke.
that's like what we're saying, but you know, let them know that they're welcome to come, but
Right.
they got a place that they can set their tents up
Right.
and, you know, smoking, you know what I mean?
Right, and I do think if we had a designated smoking area in place before the event started, then those families who know that they don't want to be necessarily near that can go and invest the time to set up, this is where we're gonna put our chairs and whatnot, and know that you're in a safe area. But at the same time, I would need your all's approval to do something like that.
You got
We
mine.
need a designated smoking area, because I don't care how hard you try, somebody's gonna get that cigarette in.
Mhm.
So we need to just do a designated area somewhere.
Put a sign in 2 chairs.
I take that that's.
Rope right around just the 2 chairs.
A couple of questions that I have then for clarification would be, enforcement, and then also, kind of to your point, what types of things we need to provide in that area in terms of properly disposing of the cigarettes, especially out at Heritage Park right now. I mean, we did get rain Friday, but I also know that we do go through dry spells where it's not only a health hazard, it's also a safety hazard. We don't allow people to bring grills, because we are concerned about starting a fire, and yet I've seen fires started with people pushing cigarettes. So if I would need to ensure that anything is put out there for the safety of it as well.
Yep, we need to do that too, you know what I mean? Let's give them, there might be other parks that already got something, maybe we can look into it and see, you know.
We'll set something up.
Okay.
And it needs to be downwind, so if I'm.
I can't control the weather.
Even though you put it in a special area, it needs to be where, if I'm over here, the smoke is not coming over here.
Can we just say no smoking?
No, because whether we say yes or no, somebody's gonna do it anyway. Somebody's gonna do it.
But I'm with her on the fire deal. A cigarette can start a fire, especially when it's extremely dry.
So
Even
we
in
have
the
to make sure
winter.
we contain it.
I mean, there is the option, if the fire department says the risk is too high, we can say you can't do it. I mean, if we got a bad weather
Risk too high.
May through October, no smoking.
Where the band is, right? Where the band.
That's the burn
That's the
ban.
burn ban.
Get out of your hands on that, that's right.
That's from the state.
Yeah, there you go, state or federal government, either one.
There are times that we will not let people shoot off fireworks in the city of Perry because of the drought conditions, and I think, you know, if we've got that worry, then that's something we can take under advisement, and see if it's something we'll look at going forward. So, what other questions do you have or comments?
I wanna make darn sure all those trucks are inspected by the county,
Okay.
health wise. I'd hate to make 600 folks sick.
Yes, so we do have the health department come, and Brandon is very thorough, takes his job very seriously.
Don't let
respectfully.
them be slack on it, make them be
No,
strict.
if anything, they're overly thorough.
Zealous.
But, yes, zealous, and I say that in a kind way. But he's very clear to me before an event starts that, hey, this truck, if they show up, because a lot of our trucks will no-show, unfortunately. Not a lot, but several, enough to make a dent. And he'll say, listen, we're leaving, if you have a truck roll in 15 minutes late, it's up to you whether they serve or not. And that's why we have to be firm with we close the streets, you're not coming in. So we do try to make sure that at every Food Truck Friday, all of the events all of the trucks are cleared, and then Brandon lets me know whenever he's done. So I have a list of who's already arrived, who's been checked, and then if anybody rolls in after, that's on the city, and we have not allowed any trucks to come in after that, and we will continue to do so.
What about the sanitation after the county leaves? Like, do you wash your hands before you handle raw food? Do you all
Right.
this?
They do have a very thorough list of like things that they have to have on their food truck, so they do have to have a hand washing station, and he goes in and he checks the temperature of the food, because a lot of them are sitting in traffic coming from Albany or Atlanta. He lets me know of any concerns that they had, and most of the time the biggest one that he's had was, one of our trucks, their grill wasn't to his standards and part of cleanliness. But that's something that you can easily just say, you need to clean your grill before you cook, and watch them do that. It's, so far since I've been here, there haven't been any major concerns brought up. But I do have every faith that they very thoroughly check the trucks and enjoy what they do.
So far, to your knowledge, we haven't had a problem, have we?
No, sir.
Nobody.
The only issue that's come up is some of the food trucks have not been able to start up on time.
Right.
Yes.
Well, what I'm talking
Because
about-
they haven't passed the health review.
But what I'm saying is nobody's been made ill by it.
No.
Can someone knock on wood? So one of the reasons that what we run into is you're trying to make a lot of different people happy, and as I'm learning very quickly, that's very hard to do. But essentially, if we shut down the streets earlier, we would have more time to allow the trucks to roll in and more time for the health department and the fire marshal to do their inspections. However, we've shortened the time that we want to shut the streets down prior to the event. So we have a very short window when those trucks need to get in, get inspected, and then open up their windows to start serving. I don't feel like we need to push that time back and move back towards a longer street closure. I feel like we're efficient. It's just a matter of making sure that those trucks know if you are not in the event footprint by 5:00 p.m., you will not be participating. I don't care if your tire falls off and you're getting changed. I don't care if you're stuck in traffic. And the reason that I used this last time and it worked very well was that the inflatables get set up at 4:45. So if you're not in before there, your road's blocked, you can't get in, and it worked. We did have several trucks that called and said, hey, stuck in traffic, I'm on my way. Too bad, so sad. But we have trucks that come hours earlier and just hang out to make sure that they don't run into that issue, so.
That's what I would do if I was.
Yes, yeah.
If I may.
Yes.
You advise the council about what the food truck vendor was telling you about what their average meal thing and what they do.
Yes, so Haley created a wonderful survey last year that we sent out to the food trucks afterwards, and she's helped me learn how to do that too with this process. So the average food truck does sell somewhere between 90 and 150 plates, which would be their tickets at our Food Truck Friday events, which most of them are very satisfied with that number. I have not personally received anybody saying, I didn't feel satisfied, I'm not coming back. Everybody wants to return. However, one food truck really stands out. The Mercedes-Benz food truck comes from Atlanta, from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. And when he was pulling into his parking, or waiting for his parking assignment, completely unprompted, I was just talking to him. I've never even brought this idea up to him. He shook my hand and said, I would gladly give you $100 to come to this event because I see the value in it. And I just said, thank you for your feedback, sir, and parked him in his spot. He sold 400 plates at Food Truck Friday, this last one in June. So I think that the vendors do see the value in it, and I also think that with the demand that we have, if there are certain vendors who would not want to pay, I don't think we would be hurting to find others. One minor, obviously for this year, we've already promised food truck spots, and we've already moved forward to fill up the whole season. But one thing to possibly consider in the future is just kind of soften it, enacting a deposit, where food trucks put a deposit down, and if they show up as promised on time, they get that back. If they no-show on me, if they break down in traffic, if they decide not to come because there's a cloud in the wrong spot in the sky, we take that money and we invest it in the next event. It would help significantly on our end as far as special events are concerned, because the public wants to know which trucks are coming. Every single Food Truck Friday, give us a list, give us a list, and I'm really nervous to put that out there because trucks don't show up.
Yeah.
And then who are they gonna get mad at? They're not gonna contact that vendor and say, why didn't you come? They're gonna contact us and go, City of Perry, you said that this truck is coming. We can't make them come. But I do feel that if they had some skin in the game with the promise of reimbursement, that would be a way to at least soften it in the beginning. And then if we did decide to move towards charging for it, it would be steps.
Well, Anya, why can't we charge them anyway for a spot?
Oh, I definitely think we could, but it's my understanding that we might not want to initially. I'm
It's just easy to do it, what she said.
I'm not talking about
We
this
don't
year.
charge them for a spot because of the tremendous success we've had so far.
Okay.
You gotta build your numbers and your markets, you gotta get that demand going. You see what I mean? You gotta have where you got this list, 3 pages long, about people who can't get in. Then you say, okay.
And right now, the wait list definitely does work to our benefit, because this last month, thankfully, I didn't run into the same issue, but the 2 previous months, I had somewhere between 8 and 11 trucks the week of the event say we're not coming. And they can say that they're canceling because they can't find the staff, and they can say that they're canceling because somebody's sick or because their truck's in the shop. I have no way of validating that. I like to think that people are honest. But also, to be honest, sometimes we have bad weather in forecast, and we're still gonna hold the event. And they think, why should I drive 2 hours if it's gonna rain out and I'm only gonna sell 50% of what I could if I stayed up here and didn't make the trip, because they have no skin in the game. So then at the last minute, I'm scrambling to go on our wait list and say, hey, you were waitlisted for this event, you had an opportunity open. Well, now they have a 3-day window to meet with the health department and make sure that they meet the requirements. So if I get a call on a Tuesday and our event's on a Friday, now we're working in a very short window of time to try to make sure that they're cleared and branded with the health department preliminary. They've got to get their certificate of insurance in. They've got to make sure that they didn't already book for another event, because food trucks do book out, especially for weekends. So it can be hard to fill those last minute spots. So if we promise the City of Perry and the community of Middle Georgia that, hey, you come out here and there's going to be 20+ trucks, and then most of those trucks decide to bail last minute, it doesn't make us look good if only 15 trucks show up. So I do think it's something that we could look at moving forward, enacting some type of deposit just to help them keep their word. Now, with that being said, we did already promise for the 2019 season was truck spots, so I think that we're going back on our word if we try to enact it this season. But something to
But
consider.
now's the time to
Yes.
start thinking.
Yeah, so as you start putting together the
Yes.
2020 program, I'd recommend you bring that forward for.
Okay.
Deposit.
Deposit.
Okay.
Okay.
The other important thing that Anya hit on is the deal about the competition.
Right.
Mhm.
There are more and more communities wanting to do, particularly if they come and see what Little Perry's able to do. So if we've got that advantage, you see what I mean, for the vendor, you know, well, I can go to the 4th Ward Atlanta Food Truck Friday thing, but they're gonna charge me $200. Now, they're gonna have a buku people, you know, but that's $200. Or I can go down and sell out on my product and not pay anything. You see what I mean? And that's, I think, an important factor with it too.
One other concern that was brought up this morning in regards to Food Truck Friday, since we're discussing it, was the selection of vendors. It was my impression that we wanted to give Perry vendors kind of a first chance, first dibs to participate in our Perry event, and then move out towards Houston County, try to be supportive of the community, and then move outside of the area, saying if you're from Atlanta, Albany, Fayetteville, all these different places that the trucks come from, then kind of cherry pick who's coming from there. One of the concerns, and I don't know if it's just coincidence or not, but Perry and Houston County has a lot of the same types of trucks. So it's challenging to say that we are gonna guarantee those spots when you get the redundancy.
Yeah, I think you have to look at variety and quality too.
Right.
I mean, that's very, I think, the quality of the food truck should have some, bearing on that, not just to protect the people that are here.
But you may get where you divide into slots of types of food, and we've got room for 2 or 3
Mhm.
of this type of food.
Mhm.
Right.
And we could alternate, we could say that we'll have these three barbecue, for example, this month. Next month, we'll have these three invited. That's one way of doing it. And then again, also, we have other events too, so trying to welcome them to participate in other events.
I think it's your discretion to make
Okay.
sure that we have a highly successful program. And you know them better than we do, and if we were to say, you know, you gotta take everybody from Perry, we'll end up with 14 barbecue trucks, and that's all we have. You know, I don't think that's gonna be a highly successful program. So I think your discretion of understanding what the mix needs to be,
Right.
and if they have to come out of Atlanta, that's okay. I think that, I think those are the, and your idea about, well, rotating them.
Mhm.
You know, we don't use the same three every event, and the other people don't get an opportunity at all.
That was gonna be my next question, I was gonna ask you about that, because I know, like you said, the Mercedes come from Atlanta, he like coming, and then he gonna wanna come all the time.
Yes.
And see, that's another thing that, I don't know how we gonna handle that, because like you said, if I'm doing good in Atlanta, I'm doing good in Perry, I wanna come back.
Right.
You know what I mean, out there, and like you
But
got
he
people
might
waiting.
he might be somebody that, he might only offer, the only person that offers stadium food.
Yeah.
But I think you take into account popularity too.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, definitely, because there are certain food trucks that are automatically asked if they're returning.
Just become-
The challenge that I'm currently facing in this season is that we did set up, whenever I first started, I worked with Haley to set up a chart of who was coming for the 2019 season. So we've already sent out who's coming in July, who's coming in August, who's coming in September. But now we've also been approached by more food trucks who are wanting to come in July and August and September, and some of those are unique trucks that we don't have. So making, with the extension to Jernigan, it does make it somewhat easier, but trying to make sure that we can honor our original word while still inviting these new unique trucks to participate without going back and saying, hey, I know I said you were invited in August, but
No, we not want you to
no.
go back on.
No, but this gives foresight for 2020, how to
Well,
set
and
things up.
you may want to, when you set it up, say you reserve 5 spots for
What comes available.
Yeah.
what comes available, and you
You pick 'em.
give them.
Okay. But yeah, even with the Jernigan Street addition, there's still plenty of room down Carroll towards Marion Street.
Right.
That if this event did continue to grow, we could still add more to it without having to expand the footprint further. There's a lot of potential area down that road. Now, the trucks don't like to be on slopes, but we'll get over it.
Anything else this evening?
No, I guess just clarification on, in terms of the smoking, events, what the next steps would be, the appropriate steps.
We'll set it
talk-
up.
Okay,
That's my understanding.
Yeah, right.
okay,
What did you say you understand what?
And I'll set it up,
okay.
Oh, okay.
based on your input.
Council, any additional comments or questions?
Don't make those easy chairs either. Work hard bottom.
Yeah. Kind of like a wood slat type of thing.
Well, I guess just for clarification on my end, then, so is this like for Perry Presents, for example, where people are bringing in their own tables and chairs and that type of setup, is this something that they would set up in a smoking section and stay there, or something they would walk over to, smoke, and then come back?
I'd let them set, their area is set up.
Okay.
You know, we don't want them walking.
Right, or leaving.
We'll work
All
on
right.
it.
I don't care what they do, as long as if they're gonna be smoking, they're smoking in this one section.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they can be standing, they can be sitting in Riley's hard chair, they can be sprawled out on the ground.
I know
You
that's
know, you
right.
just can't smoke anyplace else. Okay? And the reason I'm saying that is you can have folks coming like with a family group or a group of friends.
Mhm.
You know, 1 or 2 of them are smokers, and the other 3 or 4 are not.
Yeah.
But they still want to, hang out together. They already know they can't hang with the non-smokers, so.
That's very true.
Point of privilege here, I just want to compliment the entire city staff and yourself, all of you that worked on this weekend. We had a phenomenal event weekend in Perry, Georgia. And so I got rave reviews from everybody from when we were there on Friday night, you know, through the water battles and all the way into the chamber event on, Saturday night. So we had great turnout at all the events, and you talk about, well, if we keep growing, if Mr. Hunt's water battle keeps growing, we're probably gonna have to move it somewhere else, because it's just getting so big, it's unbelievable.
Well, I discussed with several of the firefighters that were on site some possible plans for better utilizing the space, and also parking concerns. I think we could keep it there for a little while, if we work smartly.
Yeah, I had a large number of people say, this is what makes Perry special. I
Yes.
said, well, where are you from? Well, we're from this town, or we're from that town, but,
Yeah, I met several that were from Savannah that came
Yeah.
out specifically for the weekend.
so it's, it was a robust weekend in Perry, Georgia, so my compliments to, I know we had firefighters out working hard, we had police out, we had public works, so everybody really, the team came together and Perry shined this weekend.
Thank you, yeah, it was fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate all your hard work.
Yes.
Item 4 is councilman items. Mr. Jackson, anything this evening?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Fine Grace?
Nothing.
Mr. King?
No.
Mr. Hunt? Mr. Gilmore?
No, sir.
Robert? Mr. Smith?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Ms. Newby, anything for us? Thank you. We've already had the conversation, so she's not ready. She's working on it. She'll get us something tomorrow.
We put in progress on
Item 5 is department head staff items. Chief, Ms. King, sorry.
Just to let you all know, the tax sale is scheduled tomorrow at around 10, and as of 5 o'clock today, we still have 5 parcels that are remaining. Liz has talked to most of them, and we feel like 4 of them will pay. That was as big as it.
Well, congratulations, that's what's called 100% collection. I mean, you get that type of collection, that's outstanding.
And we
Thank
still
you
have
for all
some
the hard
personal-
work in putting that together.
There's
Still
another
have some
statement
personal-
about Perry.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
Outstanding.
I don't think we've ever had that low of a or number going in.
Super. Okay. Now, we'll go back to Chief Lynn. Anything tonight?
No, sir, nothing tonight.
Mr. Wood, anything? from you?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Mr. Smith, do you have anything from Public Works since you changed hats?
No, sir.
Ms. Turpin, anything more?
I'll be here tomorrow to present the summer at the splash pad.
Okay, super. Mr. Worthington?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Sorry?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Nothing. But Chief?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Okay. Anything from communications, Ms. Palmer?
Yes, one quick thing, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. We have started selling, came to you, I guess it was a couple months ago, about selling our promotional items, swag pieces. So I had not let you know yet, but we have started selling 2 of our items. We're selling our T-shirts and our very popular tricolor hats that we ordered this year. So if you've not seen them, come to customer service, and we have a little mannequin man in there displaying the hat and the shirts. But I know we've sold some shirts and a couple hats. So if anyone asks, we are selling Perry brand T-shirts and the hats, and they're both $12 each. So kept it pretty simple for
Great.
every
Super.
person. That's it.
People want to, where Georgia comes together. I don't blame them.
That's it.
Is there anything else to come before us, Mr. Gilmore, that you're aware
I
of?
don't believe so.
If there's nothing else to come before us, we will stand adjourned.